Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. We are here to talk a little bit about Brimstone. I know that some of the other content creators of the Envoys have already done this on their videos, so I'm not here to talk about the kits or what they're for. We know that they are a war team that's coming through, and kind of sucks. I'm disappointed that we are pushing Werewolf by Night down the road some more. But at the very least, that might open them up to a proper Midnight Suns team down the road. I'll be honest that I'm not too familiar with some of these characters, namely Hellcat, but apparently this is some relation to Damon Hellstrom. And it is what it is. It's mostly a global heroes team with the exception of a Strange Heartless, who is villain Cosmic. We'll talk a little bit about this in the beginning. But I also want to talk about why this team will not be skippable. And I know what some people are thinking is that Boilon, nothing's skippable. But there is. There is actually, and there has been teams that are skippable, namely usually PvP teams, but there's a particular reason as to why this one will not be, and why I will probably be, I don't know, most definitely 99% will have to level them up. So let's get started. So let's boil this down. All right, so you guys might see the blog from last night. I'm just going to basically skim through this a little bit, right? So we have this new Halloween Alliance War team. Apparently, they're pretty good, and they should be able to clear all things other than Professor Xavier, allegedly, or some team comps with them. They focus on a lot of, they have a lot of speed, which apparently is really, really good. And this team may very well be quite powerful even outside of Alliance War. Now, the one thing I guess for me is that keep in mind, for just like any new team, that stars matter. When Accursed came out, for example, they sucked, I think, at like 3 and 4 yellow. They were not very good. They were not able to sustain damage in Cosmic Crucible on a lot of teams, that kind of thing. And the same thing will happen most likely with this team to some extent. That of course, why wouldn't yellow stars matter, right? Whether it's the going from 3 yellow to 4 yellow all the way up to 7 yellow, 7 red, and diamonds, right? It matters. Of course it matters. But I just want to put that to perspective because a lot of players, especially free-to-play players, do think that they can just roll up with their brand new team and then just wipe everything out. But that usually is not the case. So I just want to set some proper expectations here when it comes to new characters and new teams. Now, the character updates for Elsa and Strange were pretty limited. I was surprised that there wasn't a little bit more for Elsa. Let's go into you can see the whole thing better. I was a little bit disappointed there wasn't more for Elsa than some of the other characters. No, sorry, than what previous reworks. They haven't really made massive changes, I suppose, to previous rework characters, though at least her ultimate does get an offense up before she fires it off. And I do like this kind of stuff where they I don't know, do the flipping or add buffs before they do the damage. That way it's going to actually hit significantly harder. So this could be very, very powerful, actually. And then we have Doctor Strange Heartless, who again didn't really get much. Got to slow from 1 turn to 2 turns on his special. For those of you who remember the Darkhold meta, and then the passive just included Brimstone. But this is pretty big, right? 50% crit chance and damage on the passive to Brimstone. I forgot that was a thing. That's huge. Now with Raider, that's pretty, and with the new Raider, Purple 4 and 5 coming around the corner, that's basically a guaranteed crit. I think you get what is it, a 10% base, and then Raider would essentially make this a guaranteed crit with this team. So this team's going to hit pretty hard. That's what I can imagine. And Hellcat is going to be a skill character, so they're all Mystic except for Hellcat, who is going to be skill. So 4 Mystic and 1 skill. Now, as far as gear goes, that is going to be pretty challenging because we're in an era with a lot of a variety of different Mystic characters up for grabs that you may or may not need to level, right? If you've already worked on Accursed, then that's a lot of Mystic gear. Phantom Rider. I'm kind of glad I didn't work on some of these, and I'm not leveling Phantom Rider. This is maybe something that I'll talk about in a different video. With regards to him and more pay-locked characters, he is available free-to-play, but I won't get stars on him, so therefore I don't really want to build into this team with Secret Warriors and other characters that you would want to build as maybe a mid-gamer player or, going into Xavier Saga, obviously, Mephisto Odin. If for now, we'll still be using Night Stalkers for a little while longer for Mystic Raids, Null, Quasar. There's a lot of good possible options here for Mystic gear. So adding 4 more new characters basically into the mix for Mystic is going to be quite a bit of a challenge. Now, there's one thing that I want to talk about really quickly before we jump into the rest. Was this was a bit of a statement that was made, or a question that was asked to Pathfinder. It's quite long here. My apologies. Can't get it all in. So Metropolis in this was in the official Discord server asking Pathfinder, is there any way that we can confirm if Brimstone will be like Fantastic Four was, the final team of Chapter 2 and the first team of Chapter? Basically, he's asking, is Brimstone is going to be the final team of Chapter 2, and therefore is he going to be the first team? Are they going to be the first team of Chapter 3? Having the info would be great. I saw that they had the Conquerors tag in the strike spot, which was Chapter 2. So I wondered whether they would also have the Chapter 3 tag, or will they be doing that differently this time? And Pathfinder replied, I really can't confirm something that far out. I imagine that they will, but I can't promise that. Now, I want that's kind of the other purpose of, you might have seen the title of my video, because we're going into Chapter 3 pretty soon. Like, it's going to be starting in the beginning of November after Halloween. Now, what happened for Harbingers? Let's just roll back a bit, talk about Chapter 1 Harbinger. And we have the Quasar event, which is starting today. Is this starting today? I think maybe. And so what's required for this? Well, the very first team that was labeled as Chapter 1 Harbinger was none other than, I don't know, let's go for Punisher, right? The Vigilantes team, which, by the way, was a really great team. I actually loved it. And I don't know if it's because we ended up using them so much in Chapter 1 for Quasar that I got to really know the characters' kits, something that I feel is lacking for like the Hellfire Club and some of the other stuff. It's like, while I know what they do, I don't know their kits ins and outs. But I feel like I really do know this now for Vigilantes, because I used them in the Negative Zone, I used them in the Quasar trials once or twice a month, right? So I use the full characters in their entirety, that I'm pretty confident that I know most of what they do. I can't say the same for the Chapter 2 teams, because we didn't have a Negative Zone, right? For better or for worse, we didn't have a Negative Zone running every day. Okay, so this team was actually not a proper Chapter 1 team. They were actually the team just before Chapter 1 came out. So therefore, they became that first team that was required for the Quasar Scourge Nose, the Negative Zone. A lot of the Chapter 1 content was revolving around Vigilante. So much so that the Quasar Trials that is going to be starting later on today requires 2 teams at 7 yellow to max Quasar out. Vigilantes or Thunderbolts, which is one part of it, and then Accursed or Fantastic Four. Now, we know that Fantastic Four was also the team for Chapter 2, right? They had both tags. So that's kind of interesting to note, right? If you click on Human Torch, they have Chapter 1 Harbinger and Chapter 2 Conquerors. So it seems like the team at the end is rolling over into the next chapter, that they're going to have 2 tags. And they've also been the ones that are kind of used the most in that chapter, right? We used the shit out of Vigilantes. Also, just again, great team. Silver Sable, great character. I think the ultimate for Silver Sable was absolutely amazing, especially reducing the duration of all positive effects on offense in any game mode. So being able to get rid of things like Safeguard made this team absolutely amazing, in my opinion. And then obviously we used the crap out of Fantastic Four, because they're obviously arena meta. But we had a bunch of danger rooms and other events with them as well, where we got to use them. So, and I know their kits inside out, right? Again, because I'm using them so much. And so that's the only reason why I mentioned that, is because I feel that that is a positive side effect, I suppose, of having to use these teams as much as I did. And so other than that, for Chapter 1, I didn't really like Thunderbolts. But Accursed, this is another thing that I want to talk about, right? There are skippable teams. Accursed was the third team, and therefore they didn't end up being that required for a lot of content. Or for the danger room, I was able to get through it with other characters, or using the rental characters to get through it, and that was perfectly fine too. So it wasn't like a dead set requirement to have to use these characters, and I was fine with that. And honestly, I still might just leave them where they are. I'm on the, they're just recently becoming farmable, right? It should be this week, I think. But it's not in time for the Quasar Scourge, which, I don't know, I think I already talked about the other day. I think it's going to be really crappy, because I think the Quasar Scourge, the people who need the yellows and reds the most on Quasar are not going to be the people running the event. I think I said that those exact lines because people like myself who are post Xavier who can buy up shards for characters, right? I have 7 yellow now on my Fantastic Four characters because that's what I did as a being post Xavier. I just bought those shards up and their arena meta, right? Back to the chapter 3 though. So let's talk about what Brimstone is going to be, right? They're going to have the Conqueror's tag, and then they're also going to have 95%. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but 95% is going to follow the trends from the 2 previous chapters, where they're also going to contain the chapter 3 tag, whatever the hell that is. A lot of people think it's going to be Thunderstrike, this kind of like Thor knockoff ripoff character. Honestly, I don't know, and I don't really care. I don't think it matters that much. I forgot what envoy that it was, basically saying that he was going to be an arena champion, which I think is also interesting because we have a pretty not a defined arena meta, but we have a very how can you say it, hybrid soup kind of thing where a lot of the mythic characters trying to kind of just plug in here and ends up becoming some sort of soup. And I'm wondering if the soup is going to get so big that it's actually going to push the Fantastic Four out already, right? Because you have Xavier, or maybe it's just going to be the Fantastic Four 3 with Xavier and Thunderstrike or something like this, right? Guess we'll find out. So all in all, that's me to say that this team is going to be very important, which means that expect to have to gear them up. In fact, I'm gonna just T4 these already ahead of time. Actually, I was really lucky, so I had 3 out of 4 Elsa T4s. I'm shocked because I only had her at like 260k, and yet I had 3 out of 4 T4s. I think I was using the Dark Hunters. I think I did level them up like 2 years ago or whenever they came out. I did actually use them. But what I would do is not upgrade their levels and gear tier just yet because I don't know. Maybe there might be a token in the the good nature of Scopely, right? Who knows? Maybe they'll come out with a token. And then for those of us who have been playing for a long time, probably have Strange Heartless to at least 95 because of the Darkhold meta, and I have all the T4s on him, luckily, so I don't really have to do much here. But still, I would probably hold off just in the event that there happens to be a token, or there's one of those stupid level up milestones, which is like level 101 to 105 for Mystic characters, because that happened for the Insidious 6 for tech characters. So I would not be surprised if this came back around for this Brimstone team. So, you know, I'm not mad that I'm going to have to actually level up a team, right? I got, as you guys, people comment in my YouTube videos all the time about my gold. Yes, I have 590 million gold now because I don't level a lot of characters. I use them when they're necessary. I typically upgrade PvE characters because that's where my personal focus is. But for those of you who do like Alliance War, and we'll see, right? Because there's going to be Alliance War 2.0 updates, I guess, coming this quarter. So maybe they'll make Alliance War great again. It's just never had a great return on investment. The rewards were extremely lackluster. Some people find it fun. I don't personally, but maybe they will with the new updates. We'll see. Maybe there's more stuff to be had there. So just to keep this in mind, right, that there is a amazing chance that we are going to need to build this team. And just for new players, by the way, who maybe don't have all the yellow stars on him, I don't even, where can you find them? Strange Heartless is in the arena store. He's also in one of the nodes on Villains United there. And Elsa, where can you find her? Because I don't even know. You can find her in the raid store, right? In the raid supplies, and also on a node for Nexus 5, 6 normal, or is this? No, I think it's normal mode, isn't it? So there you go. If you're a newer or mid-game player who still needs to farm up shards for these characters, but they'll probably give this away a little bit. They tend to give away these rework shards a little bit, like in the realm of like 100 to 200 shards. So do keep that in mind as well. That's just going to be a little bit of a video here for today. I heard that there's going to be some big news later on, at least from Mobile Gamer, you know, related to Sentry and Battle World. So if you're looking for information on that, stay tuned for one of his videos because it looks like there's going to be a big one later on today. That's it for now, everyone. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys all on the next video. And if you like this video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and you'll be greatly helping out the channel. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys on the next one.